Whoa, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of Hibachi Talk. Pull up a chair, pull up a towel, sit down, have a libation, and join my good friend Andrew, the security guy. How you doing?
Aloha, welcome.
I'm Gordo, the tech czar, and we're here to help waste another wonderful hour of your time with an exciting episode of Hibachi Talk. So, but before I talk about what the show is, I want to know. I know you're kind of wearing a red shirt. Kind of red.
Yes, we have Heart Week going on.
Yeah, we do. So I got my red.
Is it week or day?
No, it's day. It's
okay.
National Wear Red for Women Day.
Okay, that's what it
for
was.
American Heart Association.
All right.
You know, I didn't realize that 1 out of 3 women also get stroke or heart attack. So it's just an awareness to bring.
So we don't have all the stress.
We don't have all the stress. We give them only 1/3. We get 2/3. Just to point out that. But
that's fair.
So anyway, it's just to help recognize that and acknowledge that these young ladies need and not so young ladies need to take care of themselves going forward. So that's why we got our red on today
Good deal.
to show that. And also,
I think our guest may have a few words to add about that.
yeah, she might. And speaking of guests, our guest today is Mary Fastenau, and Mary's
amazing lady.
An amazing lady. She's going to talk about a 20-year-old idea about the World Wide Web and how she took
the what?
The World Wide Web.
Okay.
Yeah, and how she
That's
brought.
what they used to call it, right?
Yeah, and how she brought this idea about the World Wide Web forward and made it into a 20-year success story, local company.
Yeah.
So
amazing, amazing stuff. Stick
and
around
a female too, on top of that. So this is not a male-dominated industry. We've talked about this all the time. Angus is going to be on, and he's going to talk about. He's got another piece of tech, and he's found some URLs that he particularly likes.
Great.
So
you got to keep him off the web.
We got to keep
this guy. He's hard to hold on to.
I know. Last night I had to choke him and get him down off the computer. So anyway, just as a point of reference on this, everybody seems to think that the internet and the World Wide Web are synonymous, and they're not. The internet, the internet is what the World Wide Web. Let's say that again. World Wide Web runs on, just like email.
Sure.
Email runs on the internet.
Sure.
So a lot of people think that the World Wide Web is the internet, and it's not. And so I think that's just as a point of reference. So.
Yeah.
So now, thinking back to how old do you think internet precedes World Wide Web?
Sure.
So
the transport layer,
the
right?
transport
the
layer,
IP,
right?
the
With,
TCP/IP.
Back in the day when we were trying to make sure that when the first atomic bomb would hit, we would have somewhere to hide, and the military would be able to communicate, and so on and so forth. But just coming forward to the WWW. When do you think the WWW started? Like, do you have think of a potential
I think they were probably
date?
working on it in the 70s, early 70s, I would say, late 60s maybe. I mean, they were definitely working on comms and different types of comms. So
right, and it's really not as old as a lot of people think about it. It's like the invention of the web was like in the 80s. So the web,
sure.
no, I'm sorry,
HTTP,
the internet. Yeah, sorry, the internet layer. But
okay.
the web came out in the late 80s, mid to late 80s, and then it took off in the 90s, and then after it took off in the 90s, here we are in the 2000s, where it's like ubiquitous, right? We expect to get onto the internet wherever we go. I've been saying this for a long time, is that it's as important as electricity.
And we talk with different protocols, so instead of just HTTP, there's many other things. Security, the IoT, this internet, this World Wide Web, this internet we talk about, to me is transport. I use it more as transport for information of all types.
Right, and you're super cautious on it. So you don't go to any site.
Oh, we'll talk about that in my. I got a thing to talk about.
So you don't go to any site that doesn't go HTTPS.
Well, it depends on how I'm getting there.
Oh, okay. Depends on how you're getting. I just wanted to make sure I understood that.
It's always that transport layer.
So, what was your first experience? What was your first experience when you came up to the internet, or / let's call it the World Wide Web?
Yeah. So we wanted to. Obviously, it was out in the mid-'80s, and we started IST really after Windows 95. I mean, we used billboards and things like that prior, but when we wanted to advertise our company, Yahoo was the big search engine for us, and we wrote crazy, archaic websites by today's standards, but they had flashing bolts, and we just thought this stuff was amazing. What was your landing page? And we tried to generate traffic. People wanted to sell things, and we were a service business, but we believed we could do it anyway.
So here you are. Where was that? In the 90s?
This was the late 90s. Like 98.
So in the late 90s, you're starting to say, okay, there's some potential here. And my time frame is about the same. It was in the mid 90s, and I remember with the company I was working for at the time, I went to them and I said, this is the next new wave. This is going to be how you're going to want to promote what we do. Mind you, I was thinking more brochureware back in those days.
Sure.
And I remember I wrote the code, I put it up, and I remember presenting it in the room, and everybody looked in the room, and I had Dilbert animations and all this
Sure.
silly stuff.
Right on.
But they all looked at me and they thought I was an idiot. They said, "This is not, like,
That no
why?"
one cares?
Yeah,
Like-
what no one's going to do. No one's going to pay any attention to this. This doesn't matter. No, we're not going to do it. You know, roll forward a couple of years, they ended up with a whole department that does
course they
nothing
did.
but develop, you know, the website with interaction and all kinds of things. But
Well, look at Amazon. I mean, what did people think when Amazon first came out? And what's Amazon today? You know?
yeah, I mean, and I did the same thing when Amazon first came out. And I remember sitting in the parking lot when they announced that this online bookstore was going to come up,
Sure.
and I went,
Why?
nah,
Why?
it ain't gonna work. You know, I just can't. I mean, I love going down to board.
We didn't have much vision. We were the
No,
working guys,
now,
weren't we?
Now you know why we got this show that we don't get paid for. So, you know, I say, now who's going to buy a book online?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I like going to Barnes and Noble, and I like going.
And they have free Wi-Fi over there.
Yeah, that's right. Think about it, right? Let us put in a piece of technology that's going to put us out of business.
Yeah.
So we go in there, and I go, no, it isn't going to work. And then lo and behold, you know, there's no Barnes and Noble. There's, you know, very few. You know, the concrete walls went away. So, but I still remember trying to buy pet food online, and that one definitely didn't work.
Oh, 'cause
the
of
shipping cost was more than
into
the cost
Hawaii.
of the thing. So, but another one of those great visions that
Sure.
never worked out was Amazon, and then
And it did work out.
And it did work out.
Yeah.
And then what about? So then we think, you know, what? And I was told you back when I was at the Queen's days when we brought in the first email system. Suzanne ran on the mainframe. Now there was internet, but the World Wide Web component wasn't there at that time because that was in the
SMTP
earlier days. And so we had internal email, but never had external email. But when the triple W's came out, then all of a sudden now we have the ability to go out and then look what happened with the explosion of that. Think about how great the first browsers were, though. How wonderful those were.
They were sort of text, is what I recall.
Yeah.
Billboard-like
Yeah,
at first.
It didn't have
Sure.
the GUI, didn't have all the stuff in it, and then remember the browser wars. I mean,
Netscape.
Netscape.
And,
you had to pay, right? You wanted to buy, you had to pay for Netscape.
Really?
Yeah. So they
I
had
never
a vision.
did that, but
Yeah,
and
well,
what AOL, was that a pay-for environment as well?
No, I think that was a freebie. But then Microsoft comes out and does Internet Explorer for free, right? And incorporates
That's
it,
right.
and then incorporates it into their operating system.
Right.
It's an integral part of their OS. And so
Was that Windows 95 first time that?
Yeah,
Did it roll out with
95
that?
or
I think
98.
so, yeah.
And so you're sitting around thinking now, Netscape had its vision, and then, that lasted for a while. Did they go down with the .com? They went
That got
early.
sold though. 'Cause
Yeah, they got flipped in all those different things. But now you're thinking about, what's happened on the internet. And I think one of the
And
things
Google.
and Google.
Google's the
and
word,
Google,
like you Google things.
You Google things.
It's a verb.
That's why I like telling people I always go to Google to Bing something.
Sure.
I mean,
To
that's
Bing
just-
something.
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. So sometimes I go to Bing and I Google it
And
over
Google-
there. Yeah,
Google
yeah.
Bing?
So, but if you think about what happened with the search engine and how that's evolved over the very short time frame, and then think about what's happened now with access to what you do when you're on the internet. When you're going to searching, when you're in search pages and so on. What I find interesting is that the pioneer for internet access and all the different things that have happened was porn, was the pornography industry. They were the ones that really drove the technology infrastructure and what happened in the industry at that time.
That's the whole sex sells bumper sticker.
That whole whatever thing it is. And so
Driving tech.
that drove it, and then we ended up to where we are today, and they're more of a back seat now than they were.
We don't do porn, by the way.
This is a family show, so we're all set. And besides that, Angus would leave. He wouldn't want to stay if it was anything else. But now you're very familiar with all the stuff that goes on once I get on a website, right? You know what happens the moment I do a search.
I pay attention to the background security of all of that because there's a lot of gaps there. I mean, that's one of the major attack vectors that seems to vex the consumer today. He really doesn't understand. He trusts all that automation and trusts what's happening out there. And we're going to talk a little bit about why that's risky.
So there's a website, and I'll bring it next time. Where if you go you go in, and once you do a search for, like, I want to buy a I don't know, a computer or a television, and if you ever notice, all these things start popping up in ads all around other sites that you go to.
Sure.
I mean, all that data is being mined, just
yeah.
constantly being mined.
Sure.
So the industry has gone, and I keep thinking this is 20 years. And Mary's going to, be able to tell us what she's been able to do over that short period of time. But in this 20 years, we've gone to the point where we were doing, minor things, I would say, on the internet, to where it's now the internet of everything, like you said earlier, and the internet of our lives. I mean, I don't know that many people that don't go on to the World Wide Web at least once a day, or to email at least once a day.
Sure.
It's hard to say.
That's the world we live in.
And even people that of my generation are actually becoming heavy users, and then the next explosion that we've gone to on social media, which can be a whole other show that we'll talk about. But anyway, I know you've got this thing, your thing on security, and
sure, let's do the security minute.
So let's give us your security minute thing, and your what you want to alert everybody to what they should not be doing.
All right. So I was talking to a Rotary Club yesterday morning, and I just asked for a show of hands of who really browsed and used public Wi-Fi, and what they thought about what they should do when they're on something like that. And I had to hold up this sign. There are some tools out there that are readily available for hackers that want to get your information. One of them I was reading about earlier today, Wi-Fi Fisher. It comes packaged, it runs on Kali Linux. You can stand this up, and this is a tool, just briefly so you'll understand. This is a tool that attacks a wireless router, a wireless access point, like in Starbucks, for example, and it floods it with packets. So it basically kicks everyone that's on it off. It's got another component that, while it's doing that, is emulating all the settings of the wireless access point in that Starbucks. So to your browsing device, it looks the same. So it then lets you log onto it, and then it offers you a web page to authenticate, and then you're phished. As soon as you accept that, everything that you're doing while you're online on that access point is now being collected by that same piece of software.
So Andrew, I notice now that the Starbucks, most of the Starbucks that I go to now, and I do jump on the Wi-Fi, but they don't ask me anymore for that to accept the page.
Yeah.
So is that because of what you were just saying? Things were getting rerouted, people were emulating?
No, but if you know that about that place and you happen to be there and you get offered that page,
okay,
you could be getting phished.
You could be getting phished
by a local access point. You wouldn't know otherwise. So it's that browsing habit that people aren't aware of really what they're doing. And if you're going to be in these public spaces, just don't be logging into your bank account. Don't be logging into anything that uses a password for something that's important to you in your life.
Okay,
you can't trust that it's not out in the clear.
That's cool advice. Well, guess what?
Lua
time. I got to hit the spot.
Thanks, brother.
And so we just we burned through this. We're going to take a little break here now. Help pay the bills. So we're going to get Mary to come on in, and Angus is going to give us his tech moment.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
Hi, aloha. My name is Chris Leatham, and I host a show called The Economy and You. The show plays every Wednesday at noon, and on my show, I bring on guests who are interested or working in the technology space. And so I'd like you to come and watch the show and learn with me about all the sort of exciting things that we're doing in Hawaii to build and grow our economy ecosystem. So I'd like to say aloha, and I look forward to seeing you on the show. Thank you.
Aloha, Yappers, and a Happy New Year. I'm your host, King Zilly. From inner city out to the platform and now the Yap Show. It's a new year, and most would say a new beginning. So this is a call to action. As we promote tech, energy, diversification, and globalism, with ThinkTech Hawaii, the Yap Show is all about advocacy for effective leadership, comprehensive youth policies, programs, and access to knowledge and information for upward social mobility, especially for the historically underprivileged youth. This means we'll be looking at young people making a difference in their community, youth policies here in Hawaii, the country, and the world. We want to highlight youth programs that are meeting young people where they are, working together to accomplish a goal or tackle an issue while providing information and access to free educational content for anybody looking to learn on their own time, study for an exam, or simply refresh their memory. We do this by inviting everyday people like yourself, state policymakers, youth advocacy groups, youth programs, professionals, and so forth. But most importantly, we'll be partnering up with my new organization, causeeffect.org. More information on Cause Effect, as this website is currently in development and hopes to feature courses, seminars, tutorials, and conducting surveys that will be featured on the show. As we leave behind 2014, I wish I could say we leave behind issues such as police brutality, youth violence, education, economic mobility, and so many other hot-button topics that made 2014 a difficult year. So what does it mean for the new year? What does it mean for youth policy? What does it mean for Hawaii as a whole? And most importantly, how does it affect you and your community? We want you to tune into the YAP show at 3 p.m. Friday and find out. Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Josh Green. I host a show called Healthcare in Hawaii here on ThinkTech. We get together once a week or sometimes twice a month. Depends. When we're busy, we get together less often, but we love to see you here to talk about the preeminent healthcare issues in our state. Our programs vary very widely. We talk about economics, we talk about healthcare, we talk about social issues on this program. Thanks for joining us.
Aloha and welcome back to Hibachi Talk. I think Angus is in the house with some crazy URLs he found, maybe his top 5. So let's see what he's got. Angus, welcome aboard. How you doing
Hey,
today?
how you doing there, Drew?
Very
good
well.
to see you again. You're looking pretty good, you know. You like the way you're looking today.
I'm in red.
I know. Hey, you notice I got my red on today, too. I was taking those sweet lassies. You know what? You know, Mary's. She's a sweet one too. Hey, Mary. You know, my mother's first name was Mary. We have a lot in common. Anyway, so Drew. You also notice you got my wee red earring in today too. I'm really going all out on this wee thing. So anyway, I got a couple
job,
things.
Angus.
So first thing we're going to talk about this new personal motorized device that allows me to get around the house. And I can get around the house, and I can get around the lobby and the apartment building, and all kinds of things. It's called I.O. Hawk. It was announced at CES last week or a couple weeks ago. There it is. There's that wee lass. Oh, by the way, no, she's
in red.
Yeah, awesome. Anyway, that wee lass has scooting around CES there on that wee device there. I think it's going to be a tremendous thing. I don't know if I have the balance for it. Problem too, I don't have the legs for it either. Anyway, the other thing is it doesn't weigh very much, about 20 pounds. It weighs about 20 pounds, and it can go for about 9 miles, depending on how heavy you are. Obviously, the heavier you are, the less places you can get to. But it's a nice device. It's a little bit expensive for us wee Scots. It's about $1,800. But it came out today.
American or,
Yeah, it
or
came out
Scottish?
today. So we may give it a try. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's my gadget for the week. But Drew, since we're going to talk about websites, I thought I would give you a couple of the ones that I really like. My favorite website is .com.com. That's a real cool one. I like that. That's a really neat one. The other one I like is childrenswear.com. But if you look at it the other way around, it says childrenswear.com. That's really not a nice one.
Angus.
So you're telling people you got to be careful with what you do your wwws. The other one is machome.com. But if you look at it, what it really is machome.com. Yeah, that's the one. That's what I am. So that's it.
That one appeals to you.
Then the other one is another one is if you're going to go to Spain, it's choosespain.com. But if you look at the other way, it's choosespain.com. Well, I didn't want to do that one either. But my favorite, there's Wee Tune in Wales. And this is the name of the wee town. It's the city. It is called Lynn, Fair, Bill, Gwyn, Shill, Go, Cur, Yuck, Wenin, Drobe, Will, Lon, T, Celio, Gach.com.
Come on.
Can you imagine putting that in a postcard? Oh, my goodness gracious. Anyway, Andrew, I'm tired. I want you to say that 10 times again. Anyway, I get a little tired on this one. Be back next week. It's Valentine's. We have a special show next week on what's going on there. Thank y'all again, and aloha.
All right. Thanks, Angus. That's amazing. I think you're getting a little too much time online, spending a little too much time on some of those websites. But I appreciate you bringing that information to us, and I want to see you on a pair of those fancy skates there, buddy. So we've got Mary Fastenau with us now from Anthology Marketing Group. Mary, how are you today?
I'm doing great.
Welcome.
Well, thanks for
Aloha.
having me. Aloha.
Great to have you here.
Thank
Yes,
you.
and you're in red.
I'm in red.
Is that your
Yeah.
favorite color?
Favorite color.
It is my favorite
All
color.
right.
It is my favorite color because I am a 20-plus year volunteer for the American Heart Association. So I feel passionately
Right on.
about
Wow.
this topic.
Thank
wow. Wow. So
Thank
you were
you for
part of
helping.
that tribe that got me brought into this.
I was part of that
now
tribe. Yes,
it
yes.
explains it all. So we always ask this question. So how did you get, first of all, where did you go to school? And then what your degree is in. And by the way, I always give Andrew a hard time about being, an anthropology major. And your company's called Anthology, so that, but yeah, I do have to point out, he does have a master's
Could
in
I be an
communications.
anthology? Could I
So,
be an
know,
anthology
I will
major,
give
maybe
you-
with
I will-
approval?
There you
Maybe
go.
after this show, I'll come
There
up a
you
little.
go. There you
promote
go.
you a little bit.
Gosh.
So tell us a bit about your background.
So I grew up on a farm in rural Nebraska.
Ah.
And so my high school is Bertrand, Nebraska, Bertrand to any place else in the world. So I went to University of Nebraska for my undergraduate degree, and I was a journalism major.
Wow.
So I was out to change the world.
Uh-huh.
And then worked for Gannett for 10 years, and then got my master's degree here at the University of Hawaii.
Oh, awesome. So you've been here a long time then?
25 years. Gulp. Yes.
Really? Yeah.
Have you written a book yet?
No. I
Because,
don't.
journalism majors always
I
aspire to write their
know,
book,
I
They're going to
know.
write their
You gotta write
You're
your
working
book.
on it.
I'm working on
Do you
it.
realize we've had two farmers? I'm going to use farmers is a good word nowadays.
'Cause
So
Kelly?
well, no, not Kelly. Jason last week. He was a
Oh, that's
Christmas tree
right, that's
farmer.
right. He was too.
So we
Yeah.
had that.
Kelly
So-
was just a country boy.
So you were, you were on the farm.
Oh yes, I was on the farm.
So I'm going to digress a little bit. Did you have flush toilets?
Of course we had to flush toilets.
I didn't. I grew up on the farm and we did not have flush
No,
toilets. Anyway,
no.
so we're getting. I always get off track. Anyway,
We're trying to come forward from how she got into tech, not back.
I don't know. what I'm
Not
doing.
backwards.
We're doing
yes,
fine.
So,
yes.
so Mary, so tell us, you've taken this company Anthology and you have brought it forward, and this is your 20th anniversary month, right?
Yes, it is.
This is 20th anniversary month. So tell us about how you could even begin to think about doing something like this.
Well, when I moved to Hawaii 25 years ago, and I was an advertising person, so worked for what was then called Star Siegel McCombs in advertising and loved it, and then literally went to get my executive MBA at the University of Hawaii and saw the internet in a classroom at UH Business School and went, oh my God, this is all of the things that I love, because I love the communication aspect, I love the marketing aspect of it. But it was 1995.
Yeah, see what we were just talking about, 1990s.
I think Windows 95 really brought it to everyone. I mean, Internet Explorer maybe is what made it that available.
Yeah, but you could get the CIA book. I mean, that's what,
As in the CIA?
the CIA fact book. Yeah, that was one of the big things, that was one of the first things on the internet, was to go look at the CIA fact book.
Oh, so what did it say about you in that?
No, nothing.
Oh.
It was country.
It was Who Really Shot
Yeah.
Kennedy. They had released all that
Oh,
in
that's right.
95.
That was all in there, right?
Yeah. So anyway, I saw it and thought, this is fascinating. Ran back to the office and talked to people who were the tech sort of side and said, look at what I just, and they're like, Mary, yes, that's been around for 6 months.
Oh, it's old news.
It's
Old
old
school,
news,
old
old
school.
news. We've been trying to get you to do that. So that's how we started.
So a marketing firm,
Marketing firm,
so doing brochureware,
yes.
so to speak.
And
Oh.
ads, right?
But how do you sell, now you weren't the boss,
No, I was
so
not
how do
the
you
boss.
sell your boss on this?
So Jack Siegel, a legend in the marketing
He is, truly is.
in industry in Hawaii, and an amazing man. And so there were three of us, Blaine Fergustrom, Jim Fletty, and myself, and we went to Mr. Siegel's office and said, you're not going to believe what we want to do. And so we go into I'm excitable now, imagine me 20 years ago.
I've always considered you calm, cool, and collected.
So we start explaining what this internet and the World Wide Web is going to be and what all of those things are. And he looks at us and he said, so give it a try. So we formed
Wow.
an ad hoc committee. So in addition to everybody's other responsibilities at the advertising agency, we had an accountant and a copywriter and an art director and all kinds of people. And we got together once a week and started talking about this thing called the internet.
Yeah, so you
Wow.
played right into
What a group, though. That's awesome.
That's awesome. And you played right
And
into what
great
this
support.
show is about. We're trying to get people to realize that in the tech industry, there's more opportunities than you could possibly believe because of things of what we're just talking about now. I mean, look at, you brought 3 different disciplines
Yes.
into a tech-focused project. and brought it to where, to where you are 20 years later. So again, I just want to keep pointing out is that people keep thinking tech is only based on developing cool apps, developing a cool piece of technology like the IOHawk or whatever, but there is just a whole tremendous other world out there. As a matter of fact, the paper said this week that Hawaii's ranked last in tech opportunities in this
Really?
country, and I
Yes.
totally
Wow,
disagree.
I do too.
Yeah,
I mean,
disagree.
there's as many opportunities here as there are people. There really are. There's so much to do that above what you see. All the transplant, all the other work that we all do supporting all those things that people actually see, all the gimmicks and devices and stuff. There's a lot of work.
I mean, we just hired
below that.
4 more people this week.
You're
4 more
hiring
people.
everyone that's available.
I know.
There's
I
none
know,
left
we
for the
need
rest of
some,
us.
Gordon.
Yeah, just come see us. Anyway, we hired 4 more people this week, so I mean, we brought 4 more on, and it's
Great.
it's the tech of everything.
Were they
right?
from here?
Yeah.
By the way, or
Yeah, they are.
none?
So,
Okay,
so,
good,
so we're
good.
just keeping
Awesome.
we're keeping the business going, keeping the economy going. So okay, so what was the first kind of like sexy or significant project
Well,
that
I'm
you
interested
worked
in
on?
hearing what did they think of? Like, what's the first
okay, good
meeting?
point,
What
yeah.
did you
Wait,
decide
actually,
that you could do?
It was very funny because what we ultimately ended up was we compared it to what we knew. So we were comparing, here's how the internet's going to work compared to a brochure.
Okay.
Compared to here's what a print magazine is going to get. And I actually dug this out the other day where there was like a cost comparison of if you're going to build a website and how many people are going to see it as compared to buying a magazine ad. That's how, because
gotcha.
you had to talk about it in terms certainly that our clients and even our coworkers would understand. So you took it to those kinds of things, which seems crazy now to think about it, but that's really what it
Right.
But
was.
it's
How-
what you do, like
Yeah.
you pay today, Facebook, you can buy like $20 of impressions, for example, over a week, and you'll get, you're going to affect 14,000 people will see that while they're on there or something.
Yeah.
It's amazing, the way it's a similar
It's
idea
similar.
today. Nothing's except, I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
talk about mobile later, but
So can you say who was your first client?
Princeville Resorts.
a
And
website
our
client.
website client,
Right
yes.
on.
And it was a
Wow.
very important client for the company overall. So we sort of looked at each other and went, oh no, what do we do now? And then said, we can't fail because it was so important to the company overall. We weren't in a position to experiment. It had to work and we had to do things. And they were a wonderful client for many years and really let us push the envelope with all kinds of things. And because it was 95 and the websites started coming out a little bit in 96, we got lots of attention in the trades. They got a lot of attention for different kinds of things. I mean, they even let us do something which now seems so embarrassingly simple. We took all of their information that they sold for conventions and meetings and we put it on a CD-ROM. And it saved them hundreds and thousands of dollars because otherwise they were creating these great big books that they were sending out.
Sure.
So the things now that we think are so simple, then we're like, oh, this is a revolution.
I know who gets a manual anymore, right? I mean,
No one.
No one.
There are no manuals.
I got something.
They're on the
I
internet.
got something in the mail yesterday, and the manual was on a CD-ROM.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean,
Sure.
and on the CD-ROM was a link to a website. So I mean, like they didn't even need to see.
But it's so foreign. I got something in the mail yesterday, which was an illustrations book. And it was, illustrators from across the nation. And our design team was so excited to actually see a printed
book.
piece. They were like fighting over it.
Wow.
What is this? Book 101. So Princeville. Now, what about video stuff and all those kinds of things? So, because back then the pipe wasn't big enough.
The
The
pipe,
internet
yeah.
wasn't wide enough to get that stuff to everybody.
Yes, so another one of our amazing clients let us do, and this is one of the lures in our history where we laugh about it because we did a virtual tour of Halikalani.
Okay. Wow.
Wow.
So
Nice.
a virtual tour at that moment meant that you would put something in Shockwave, and then we
Shockwave.
had Shockwave. Yes.
That's now a beer, isn't it? I mean, that's
Shock
software.
Top, Shock- yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
Shock Top.
something,
Okay,
yeah.
I knew it had something in there, but anyway, the Shock
Beer
Wave
website,
is
it's all the
gone,
same.
and now it's
And you
yeah.
wanted to do music, but the files were too big. So we had a dear friend of ours in Seattle, Stan Wenzel. He did Pocketbell Canon, and it could only be 25 seconds long because that's all we could. Otherwise, the files were too big. So it just kept looping and looping and looping. So we put it up on the website, and then we realized that it took forever to download it. So we put a little caption on the bottom that said, here's a virtual tour of Kalani. It will take you 7.5 minutes to download this.
Back then, people would wait to
And you
see
would,
it, though.
You would, because it would be the coolest.
Just because you get the tour of Hallie
Wow,
Kalani.
look at that, how
What we
neat
were
it
on modems, right?
Yes, yes.
By and
because
large,
it
I mean,
was-
everybody was on dial-up.
It was 7.5 minutes on a 14.4 mode. I mean, that's really.
Yes, we go back like
That-
pre-DSL, pre-cable,
Yes.
all
Wow.
this stuff. So,
Yes.
So you were bleeding edge.
We were believing
That
it.
that is way
But
out
the
there.
irony of that is because, every good internet marketer knows that you have to measure, and even then we were measuring, and so we kept saying, who is downloading this and spending 7.5 minutes? And we kept looking at the statistics going, look, there's a lot of people who are doing this. And we later found out that Oceanic was using it when they were installing Roadrunner to show how fast things were.
That's awesome. She built a throughput test tool.
And they were using it a lot in travel schools around the country because they were saying, here's the kinds of things. So we ended up winning a huge award from one of the big international resort and hotel companies for having the best technology project that year.
So-
See, you
Listen,
got to thank
local-
HPU for that.
There we go. Local company, again, local company,
Yeah.
local owned and
Right
operated, started at the beginning, 20 years later, still here. I keep telling everybody, Hawaii keeps getting missed.
Yeah,
It really
it's
does.
very true.
We have some incredible talent out here. So, how many people you got on your team now?
So we now have 22 people on the team, but as the digital team, we're part of a larger company, Anthology Marketing Group, and Anthology is about 100 people, so that includes advertising, public relations, digital, and research, that whole integrated marketing thing that we've been doing for a long time. So, so that's where we are now, and then, also still have specialists that we use from time to time in other places.
Okay, well, let's leave that spot. We got to take another short break.
Okay?
Pay some bills, and hope
And
you
we'll
guys
be
are getting all this. This is pretty kind of cool stuff, and we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Thanks.
Aloha, my name is Paul Jackson, better known as PJ, and my local interest is in sports. I have my own sports radio show at KWAI AM 1080 that you can stream live. I also have my own website, pjsportsradio.com. We have live guests in studio, and we talk about discussions and topics that everyone wants to know locally here on the islands. We cover everything from surfing to basketball to whatever's going on locally, sports-wise. We try to do our best and cover the topics in depth as much as we can. Once again, thank you for joining PJ here on Hawaii Sports Update. Mahalo.
Well, how you doing? Welcome back to Hibachi Talk. I'm here with Andrew, the security guy, and our lovely guest, Mary Fastenau from Anthology. Longtime friend and huge UH football fan, I might add. Goes to every single game.
Yes, I am.
I see her there. We cry together. There's lots of that going on. So, anyway, so picking up on where we left off. So you've got all this different talent. So is there messages you'd like to get out about what not only what you do, but what opportunities present themselves to these young people today?
Absolutely, because I think I agree with both of you in that there are so many opportunities here, and it's interesting. I sort of call it the Hawaii inferiority complex, where what we have started saying to people is that we choose to be in Hawaii. It's not because we didn't have other options. And so we're very fortunate that a lot of our business actually comes from the mainland. And so I think that this concept that if you're in Hawaii, you can only work for Hawaii companies, or that you can't do cutting edge things, I don't think that's true anymore. And so I think it's important for people to realize that, and for all of us to kind of get together and say, hey, there are good things happening here, and we need to make sure that we tell people about them and show some of the things that we're doing.
Yeah, the bashfulness, I'll call it, the something about, we can bring in someone from the mainland at $400 an hour when someone in Hawaii can do it for half that. Makes it the person that comes in from the mainland. What makes you think that they can be as good or even better than what we've got? We've got some great talents. Some of the high schools here, some of the things I've seen at the robotics competitions.
I think we're just humbler here about it. I mean, that's you
Well,
get
we've got a lot to be humble
people,
about.
sure, and we don't want everybody to come over here in the first place. We're crowded enough.
Yeah, all right. Oh wow, here you go now. Here we started on this one. So, but yeah, it's so now where you're at. We got 20 years. What's the future now? What's coming next within the WWW or whatever you see coming down the pipe?
Well, having watched it this long and sometimes feeling like, the history of the internet. But I think that the thing that I'm seeing is that there's been evolutionary steps and there's been revolutionary steps. And I think now we're in a revolutionary period because it's like what you were talking about, Andrew. It's the Internet of Things. We are so connected in everything that we do, and that's where we see things going, and that's where things are going to become, where it is, you both use the word ubiquitous. That really is what it is that we're so tied to technology that we don't even think about everything that we do is actually being monitored, being tested, being measured, whatever it might be, but that it's critical to our lives. And I think that's where things are going next.
I think that that the devices that we're putting out there, these IP devices, we know they're generating data. And that data is going to begin to make decisions. The analytics that are looking at that data will make other machines do other things for us. No human-to-machine interface, no machine-to-machine interface, truly data, driving data to cause a lifestyle to be. And that's what's going to happen.
And like I said earlier, our lifestyles have all changed because we are connected to everything, whether it be your wrist device or your Nike shoes. Oh, Nike, that's a commercial, give some money. So Nike shoes, got, whatever chip you've got in there, any of those kinds of things. So, so what do you...
Where does it evolve from a marketing perspective?
Yeah,
so, because I keep reading about mobile revenue's going up, and I think these, if they're going to be too bulky, eventually people say, they'll have something that just expands, goes from something they can keep inside their pocket, literally like a postage stamp that grows to this size instantly when you want it to be that way or something.
So the big trend obviously is an increase in mobile advertising, but it's all very targeted. So when the things you're seeing when you see a mobile app, when was the last time you saw something about that you weren't related to? Because everything where we buy things now, it's being retargeted. So that data is coming back, it's being mined, and people are serving you an ad. Again, I'm a huge football fan, right? So it's very common, because I'm always reading about football, that I'll have something that will be sports related in the ads that I receive. So that when you look at those kinds of things, and in the mobile perspective, that's true as well. I think one of the things that I like to say is, if you think about where things are going, you think about how you use a device, right? So when you're using your desktop, what are you doing? Or your laptop, you're there. When you're normally using a tablet, you're here, you're reclining, you're watching TV, you're probably multitasking at some place. When you're using your mobile phone, it's an extension of you. And that's where mobile is going, but I think that's where tech is going as well, where tech becomes an extension of you. And so how, from the marketing perspective, are we delivering messages to those people that are pertinent, that are relevant, but that aren't so intrusive that they don't want to be there anymore?
Right, and I think your key word is intrusive. I mean, we've got no texting while you're driving, and all those things I totally agree with. I mean, I'm a culprit because I'm always looking at my mobile device when I'm walking across the road. I saw 2 days ago. I saw a woman the other day there. She was almost bent in an L shape backwards, trying to look at her device. I guess because the sun was so strong, walking across the street.
Wow.
And I was thinking, she doesn't even know the curb is coming up, right? And so, but that's you're there, and it's always on. You're always connected and always to it.
I think it more like your device is going to be checking your heart rate, and if it gets too low, the Starbucks is going to pop up in your brain through your sunglasses and go get a cup of coffee, man, wake up, or something like. I think it's going to be targeted like that,
Be those kinds of things.
The coolest thing, and I'm not going to do it now because it's the first time it's ever happened, and it caught me by shock. Someone just tweeted me a question or something on this, but I got to go, okay, where is it now? And I'm getting all excited. So I'll have to next week get myself prepped for it. But we're just talking about it, right? And then someone goes and just does that to me. Now I got to find out who it is. They're killing me.
You got to get the manual.
So it's the internet of everything. So you guys are gonna. What have you got happening that you can tell us about?
What's the next big?
Anything,
what's the next big award getter?
Cool,
Can you let it out of the bag? She can't. Somebody will steal it, and everyone's watching this.
Well, I think it's interesting to think about what the next big thing is, and as you guys were talking about how everyone has to have a website. So the different uses that people are having for websites right now is very, because it's not just web. So, for example, PACCAR is one of our big clients. So PACCAR is a big Fortune 200 company that manufactures Kenworth and Peterbilt trucks.
Wow, okay.
Oh,
of
so Maitland
course-
firm. Oh,
a
big
Maitland
firm.
firm.
Okay.
Big
Global
Maitland
firm.
firm.
Wow.
Global firm.
Yeah.
So of course I come to Hawaii for their internet development.
I would too.
But if you look at the kinds of things that we do for them, so for example, they have their big truck show in Louisville, Kentucky coming up in March. So we're programming their kiosks. So their kiosk that will be there for people to go through. And we're also now in the process of programming tablets that because again, you think of where the industry is. So
Right.
when there is no access, how can the salespeople use the tablets to be able to go out and to present the kinds of things that we're now presenting on the web? So you see all
see.
those kinds of things that we've done. We did one of the, it turns out to be an industry first. A couple of years ago, they introduced a new truck model, and we did a virtual reveal on the internet,
Wow.
which, companies have been doing for years and years, but never in the trucking industry, and
Yeah.
not till we're all sitting there at 5 o'clock in the morning in Hawaii going, please work, which it did. But did they say, this is a
Awesome.
first in the industry?
Yeah, no, yeah, first, and you're talking, they're an international truck
Oh, yes,
company.
yes.
Oh,
They're an
huge, yeah.
international,
Peterbilt,
huge
yeah, they're
company,
probably the biggest.
And we've got this
Hawaii
state-of-the-art Hawaii firm.
Well, they needed
doing
Mary. They probably saw that Helen Kalani movie. They said, we need them.
7.5 minutes.
20 years, still innovating, still doing first.
Still coming, still
so
doing first.
amazing. I think
So
that's awesome.
That's the coolest of cool.
And that's Hawaii. That's what we
And-
can do
and
here.
that's what we keep saying. There's just so many opportunities in this.
So,
So
what kind of people were you lacking? Like when you started that initial meeting of 5 people, when you guys decided to start going, what did you need? Did you have it all in house?
No, because again, I'm not the programmer. So the hardest thing was when we started actually hiring programmers, because in our environment, different than your environment, it takes a different kind of personality.
that's right. It's an application development side,
It's-
and programmers going to bed with marketing. Now, there's that concept for you.
Yes.
Wow.
So I remember being many years ago saying, at some point, the IT teams and the programming team and the marketing teams are going to be best friends. And people would no, we can't talk to those people. They don't talk our
They
language."
don't know English.
Heaven forbid. Well, you're not going to believe this. We burned away another good lunch hour.
I blame it on Angus.
It comes and it goes, and we're gone. Mary, you're awesome. You're just awesome. So I love having you on the show. We've got for you a world famous, renowned,
thank you.
autographed Paxa
Solo cup.
Hibachi Talk solo cup. So please enjoy that. I wouldn't drink out of it.
You'll
but,
never leave here
I'll never
empty-handed.
leave-
We make
thank
sure of
you.
that.
It's
Thank
like
you.
bronze slippers. Maybe you ought to get it in Boston gold.
There
I
we
don't know
go.
what it is, but anyway, that's all for you. And I want to thank you guys and girls for coming by. Got to thank Zuri. Got to thank Emily. Got to thank Melanie. It was Jay's birthday this week. I hope someone.
Thanks,
reached out to
Jay.
him.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jay.
Jay. Thanks again. We'll see you all next week. Remember, Valentine's Day is coming up, and
Ooh, that's going to be fun.
aloha. Thanks a lot for
Aloha.
joining us.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice. We get a techie fade out. That was cool. Look at that. 12:44.